The biggest learning here is I thought I wanted something, but it turns out I didn't. End of story. I wanted the reward, not the struggle. I wanted the result, but not the process. And I was in love with not the fight, but only the victory. And life doesn't work that way.
I'd like to welcome my friend Parul Gujral to the show. Currently, he's in Moscow reporting to us. A lot of sensationalism going on right now there. Shout out to all the families that have been suffering through this obscure ordeal in Russia and Ukraine. But we'll get to some other things later. He's the CEO of Snowball Money, a decentralized finance mobile application that deals with all sorts of different kinds of cryptocurrencies. Thanks for having us today, and look forward to talking a little bit. What's going on?
Ari, it's a great pleasure to connect with you. And by way of introduction of Kosi, which I'm a huge fan of, have a tremendous amount of
he's the man.
Respect for. So I look forward to our conversation and your book as well. Super exciting. It really resonates with me because once upon a time in a past life, I was aspiring by way of writing to communicate kind of the shortcomings of the dreamer state, turning that into a reality, and the gross learnings on how to tactfully, scientifically, and artistically overcome into some predictable results. So on Forbes with formerly the chief digital officer of Forbes, we were co-writing a whole series on how to find product market fit and fail fast.
That's super cool. I love that fail fast. John Maxwell, and I've said this a bunch of times, talks about failing forward, and you're dealing in an industry now that has so much mixed feelings in a lot of different ways. And people might look at, I'm just using Bitcoin as an easy example, taking a big dip and then thinking their investment failed, or does that mean they need to hold in order for it to be successful? And for me, as I see failure as a gift if there's introspection into what that failure was and a lesson can be extracted. Will you share with us, maybe some of the, quote unquote failures, or something that seemed as a failure as you were starting your business, or just anything in life that led you somewhere that you didn't necessarily predict you would go, and good, bad, or indifferent?
Yeah, I would say like most successful people, I'm a serial failure. And there's like the cheap.
Yeah, I'll raise my hand too. Right? I'll raise my hand with that too.
Failure, put your hand up. There's the cheesy quotes that if you don't win, you learn. And that's kind of
hey, cliches are cliches for a reason.
They are, and they resonate. And fortunately, like what I found is if you have a purpose greater than yourself, a North Star, then when you inevitably fall into the divots of life, the volatility of life, you're pulled up versus pushing yourself up. And compounding, doing the right thing over a long period of time typically ends up to being success. And like, what is a startup? A startup is a group of individuals who believe that there is a problem in the market, and they're problem solving what they believe this problem to be. And oftentimes there's two things that happen. One, they're either solving the wrong problem, so they need to be able to problem solve to see that they're solving the wrong problem, and then problem solve.
Find the right problem.
To find the right problem, or they're solving the right problem wrong, which is a problem in itself that they need to problem solve.
And I like that. That's cool.
Compounding, doing the right thing over a long period of time drastically increases success.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And as you were starting Snowball, what was the impetus for that? Did you see that other maybe quote unquote competitors or other groups were doing it in a way that could be done better? Because I'm of the belief that big businesses solve big problems, for lack of a better discussion. So what was the impetus that really drew you there? Because I know that you're a spiritual human being, and a very connected person from all the people that I know that know you. What pulled you in those words to creating this modality, and how do you believe that that's helping people now and in the future?
Yeah, so been in Silicon Valley for quite some time. It's historically been my home base, except the last, I guess.
Come down to Austin, man. Silicon Hills. We're the new Silicon Valley. Come on down.
Yeah, I look forward to. I'm going to take you up on that. But I'm actually now moving to Puerto Rico next week, and really looking forward to it.
I like the tax situation there.
Great tax situation, but also there's a booming crypto community of folks that have really just defined this market and are continuing to make major impact by way of investing, by way of incubating, et cetera. So really looking forward to the ecosystem there as well, and helping build that out. But how did I get started with Snowball Money? My family was immigrants from India, and I have an uncle who was the oldest of 13, and he was a farmer, and he was 21 years old. And historically, for generations and generations, the family was a farmer in a small town in northern India, in Punjab, Patiala. And he had
shout out to all my Punjabi brothers and sisters that are out there,
all the Bajis, right? So he had this dream to break the glass ceiling, and Indian culture is quite auspicious, and he was kind of always believed to be the one who's going to help the village. And so he threw a Hail Mary and applied to UC Berkeley, the oldest of 13, small farming village in North India. And lo and behold, he got in, which was, basically a dream come true. But the second piece was how can he afford that? Coming to the most expensive city, the Bay Area, and the most expensive state, coming from India. And so 1,000 villagers gave their life savings, invested their life savings for him to be able to go to UC Berkeley.
Oh, the villagers supported him, not just the family?
The family, the villagers, the community.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. So my uncle, I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. And one day he asked me, beta, which means son in Hindi, Punjabi, etc. He's like, "How do I invest in this Bitcoin?"
I'm half Iranian and half German, and I'm very familiar with the with the accents to accentuate certain points. So I personally appreciate them very much.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how he sounded in the moment, just reliving that experience. And I'd been dabbling in the space since late 2015, early 2016. Grew up in Silicon Valley
that was before a lot of people were looking at this. I mean, that was when I think the vast majority of people, I mean, now the tables are turning. You were very much a pioneer in that space. That was still when it was very woo-woo, quote unquote, for what people thought it was going to be. So, a lot of, I commend you for, having the foresight to be able to see that, because a lot of people, including some of the smartest minds in the world, like a Warren Buffett, basically came out and said that Bitcoin and crypto is trash and it's another, tulip bubble, burst, or things of that nature. And, how do you feel about that?
Well, kites fly highest against the wind, right?
Yeah, planes take off against the wind.
Yeah, and as a hang glider pilot, really there's three things that I've realized in my entrepreneurial endeavors that lead to success. You've got the hang glider, you've got the hang glider pilot, and then you have the wind conditions. So the pilot represents the team, or the founder or the founding team. The hang glider represents the product, and the wind represents the timing. And so you can have the best product, the best hang glider, and the best founder, but if the timing is wrong, then you're not going to get lift, and you're going to descend directly to the bottom.
It's a beautiful analogy, but if one of the other three spokes, just as you said, was missing as well, your stool, for lack of a better analogy, would tip over, right?
Well, if you have the best wind conditions, you can be a mediocre pilot and have an entry-level glider and have the most phenomenal flight.
Okay, cool. So they're not so all the pillars aren't created equal, is the way if I'm understanding it correctly.
Timing, failing multiple times. Like, timing is so important. So we started Snowball in 2018, right when we've post this Cambrian explosion in 2017 of ICOs, of these projects that were launching based off of these white papers, but no real utility traction product. And the net result was 2018, the average investor went from 60% in losses to 93% in losses. And so we started building in the bearest of the bear markets. And that was the first lesson.
No, but that's also, I mean, if you look at some of the greatest investors in history, you know, Rothschild says it in a pretty crass way, but I think the point has been taken, is buy when there's blood in the streets. You know, Buffett would say, you know, when people are greedy, be scared. When people are scared, be greedy, right? You know, and so I I don't usually take that I don't know, almost antagonistic view towards that stuff. But it seems like in those bear markets that appear to be those massive failures, therein lies the potential for massive success. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes and no. I guess the first failure for us was when we launched or started building in the bear market. We were going against the wind. We were going up the hill with the wind against us, as opposed to behind us. And so that's where the first lesson was timing. Timing was absolutely vital and important. The second lesson is, you know, we created this platform, and the idea was, I had become a micro, I guess, key leader of influence within my communities, startup communities, I guess millennial communities who like building things and worked at big startups and loved cool ideas, as well as just friend circles, college, sports, etc. And when my uncle had asked me this question, how do I invest in this Bitcoin? Like, I guess I realized that there was not necessarily a safe place for people to get exposure if they opt to play into this very risky, volatile space. And that was where the idea of Snowball was born. And what we learned after raising a ton of money and becoming personally the middleman between the lawyers and investors, that we didn't feel confident that we had a legal path to success. And even though we had a ton of traction in product and design, massive waitlist, converted into a huge user base, month over month growth, we had to refund everyone and rebuild everything from scratch, which was one of the hardest.
Wow.
And
well, it shows a lot of integrity on your part, you know, as well. And so that's a kick in the teeth. And then what happened?
well, we leaned really deeply into the ethos of what, I guess, Bitcoin stands for, which is, you know, decentralized, immutable, democratized, self-sovereign. And originally we built this platform where anyone who wants exposure, they can connect their bank, they can invest into this pseudo index of different cryptocurrencies that are automatically rebalancing. And now we pivoted to being a DeFi app. And DeFi means you are your own bank, you're custodying your own tokens, you're logging in through your own private keys, which is kind of complex. And it's Web3 as well, so you can connect with a ton of different services. You're paying gas transactions, which is basically a fee.
Transactional fees.
And as we built this, the transaction fees for Ethereum were absurd. They went to around like $150 for one transaction. Transactions fail all the time.
No, I mean, some of them are crazy on Coinbase. They're crazy. I think Gemini is probably the one that and I know enough to maybe be mildly dangerous. We have a sector, an R&D sector in the firm that we can talk about offline, that's creating a model, a blockchain model around some of the real estate investing that we're doing, creating tokens and a series of other things we'd love to talk to you about offline. There's, no question, that this is where the future is very, very much going. In your mind, are you happy that it didn't work that time, or that failure? Like, did something else come out of that would not have come if that, refunded the money and you had the whole thing going, shut down, didn't work? Where did that lead you? Like the Yiddish saying, and I've said this a million times, man plans, God laughs. Like, where did that take you?
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point you deal with so much adversity. I mean, for us, my co-founder was very unproductive and had an incident which required us to let him go. Our VP of engineering was unproductive and became a security risk. We had this potential investor who came in to be a CTO, and half our engineering team resigned, and turns out the guy didn't know how to code. We had to relaunch our platform from scratch, and we went into COVID with no money. And so, all of these things are very defining of character. And if you don't have, I used to be very driven by like the materialistic, or I guess, the clout chasing ideology of being an entrepreneur and having success. But once you wash all that away, if you do have a purpose greater than yourself, that really what pushes you through all the adversity. And for us, like the biggest learning for us was, when we went DeFi, it forced us to really go deep and wide into the nucleus of what blockchain and cryptocurrencies stand for in utility. And before we were innovating from the outskirts, and we really felt like we got a PhD, and every single aspect, from recruiting the right talent, from being able to fundraise from the right investors, or be able to generate value, from going from an equity to a token model, from fundraising to investing, and all of these things have created strong muscles. And as we continue to fail and progress, we continue to build a big wealth of knowledge. And my latest gig is I'm a very active advisor and owner of a platform called Firestarter, where we incubate and launch metaverse projects. And we were so fortunate to be able to.
When are you going to build the Rastigar headquarters in the metaverse, brother?
We should talk about that offline. That's certainly potentially an opportunity of bringing you into the metaverse, because we kind of we're there right now
We just don't know which metaverse is going to be the metaverse, right? Is it going to be Sandbox? Is it going to be something else? Like, that's kind of what I've seen just from the outside of what will be the metaverse, or will it be a series of metaverses?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at mature markets, there's usually not a winner takes all. It's usually for every 800-pound gorilla, there's probably 15, 20 apes that are also finding that are solving a unique problem localized to different communities. And so it'll be interesting to see how things evolve. But we're really bullish on this category, not specifically for you and I, but the digital native teenagers that are going to the Fortnite, Travis Scott, and Marshmello concerts.
Sure.
For their birthday, want a new skin in Fortnite.
It's a different culture. It's a different core value. It's just a different way of looking at the world. Just as a quick aside, I saw something about you just as a human being, just from your family. Is it true that you had asked your uncle about, when money started to get better, that to spend, a couple $100 on a nice dinner, you can afford it? And his answer was, why would I do that if I could feed a whole village? I don't know if I'm butchering it, but is that true?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, my uncle, he's retired.
That's so beautiful. I mean, I saw that, and I had to ask you, because it was just, it was just such a, almost like it's so obvious, you would think, from like from a human standpoint, but it was just very beautiful. And I think it spoke to a lot of the ways that you're talking, but that's a true story, right?
Absolute true story. And uncle, he's living comfortable retirement, but he had the pressure of a whole village giving their life savings for him to go to school and do something for everyone. And it really is just I guess, become a strong pillar of our family. But going back to purpose, if the purpose is greater than yourself, then you're not going to, you're likely going to make the right actions, or you'll be able to survive long enough to win.
Do you think that you need failure to be successful?
Well, I think that success and failure are both snapshots in time, and can be defined probably in how society defines it is probably not the healthiest way. So really fortunate to be collaborating, advising, and working quite closely with Deepak Chopra. And Deepak always says, success should be defined as love and joy. Naval talks about success being
Sure.
happiness as well as, I guess, having some sort of outcome in terms of growth that you can map out. And so these things are absolutely vital. But if you can the beautiful thing about this Web3 evolution of the internet that we're all experiencing is, for the first time, as a user, you can become an owner of a platform, and that ownership actually decentralizes, I guess, responsibility. And these different unique use cases, these DAOs that are popping up, are becoming stronger than a centralized party, because now you don't have to specifically trust one party. And we're really, really excited about incubating this. I think these different concepts are going to continue to evolve into what we might see as new standards. And it's exciting to be a pioneer there.
No, that's amazing, and I obviously love Naval, love Deepak. I'm a big practitioner of transcendental meditation that I know Deepak also ascribes to and spoke a lot about, and it seems like you're very much surrounded by the same people. We see the world through a very similar vantage point. There's a question that I ask all of our guests. Near the end, I know all of you all are very, very busy out there changing the world. And the last thing I'd want to do is detract from that. I just want to be able to share that message with more people, so they see there, more great people out there doing great things. But the question is pretty simple. If there's one thing that you wish that everybody in the world knew, what would it be?
There's a really famous quote, that the Army says, and it's, everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one is willing to die.
Wow.
So the biggest learning here is, I thought I wanted something, but it turns out I didn't. End of story. I wanted the reward, not the struggle. I wanted the result, but not the process. And I was in love with not the fight, but only the victory. And life doesn't work that way, right? Who you are is defined by what you're willing to struggle for. See, people who enjoy the struggles of the gym are the ones who have, chiseled abs and they could bench press a whole house.
Yeah, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, when you watch his old videos as an example of his bodybuilding, he was always laughing and smiling. And, and they asked him one day, very similar in the same ethos of what you said is, why are you laughing and smiling the whole time when everybody's grunting and grimacing and doing whatever? He's like, well, I know every rep gets me one step closer to being Mr. Olympia, and there's something massive to be taken from that. But I agree with that very much. And look, I have no doubt that you're going to continue to do amazing things and help a lot of people, and look forward to when you come back to this side of the world, look forward to sitting with you and breaking some bread and spending some time together. And I would say best of luck in all your endeavors, but we know that luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Absolutely. It was such a pleasure connecting with you and sharing, I guess, some snapshots of our greatest learnings. And I would be more than happy to help in any way, shape, or form. We're doing a ton of investing and incubation and advisory of different projects. So if there's any unique opportunities.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk online. I'm definitely going to put you with that group, and we'll definitely be in touch, my friend. And if there's anything we can ever do to help you, let us know, and keep going out there and keep kicking that proverbial ass and doing some great stuff.
Cool. All right. Cheers. Pleasure to meet you.
Cheers. You too. Bye-bye.